what is going on, guys? Welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be telling you how to optimize your OBS to have really smooth recording. And the reason we want that is because if you are recording in higher FPS and then downsampling that FPS to a lower FPS, for example 240 down to 60 using frame blending or smart resample, your videos will end up looking much smoother. You can actually see how it looks in this video where I compare different FPS options. Anyways, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so we're in OBS. Now, this is not an OBS downloading tutorial, okay? If you cannot figure out how to download OBS, then you shouldn't probably be watching this video. But once you're in OBS, you might notice that your OBS doesn't look exactly like mine. And this is totally fine because I have reorganized my docs. And basically what docs are different elements of the GUI you see on OBS. So for example, scenes doc, sources doc, audio mixer, these are all different docs, and you can really easily reorganize them like this. I have set up them so that it's easier for me to see everything and it looks a little bit neater. Anyways, one thing I want to mention is that you need to go into View, Docs, and enable Stats if it's not already enabled. This will bring up this kind of panel where you can see how many frames you have missed, skipped, or dropped. And basically each frame means if you have a lot of frames in any of those departments, it corresponds to a different issue that you might be facing when recording. But in general, you want the number of missed, skipped, or dropped frames to be 0 or as close to 0 as possible. As you can see, I have missed some frames here, but it's totally fine because it's like a really small percentage of frames. Anyways, now let's go into settings. So the first thing that we need to do is go over to the video tab here. Now right here, this might be different depending on what your monitor resolution might be. But in general, set this to the resolution of your monitor or the game you are playing.
But you can also set this to 720p so you could record more FPS.
And output scaled resolution should be also the same. It is rarely a good idea to scale a video right here, but yeah, right here, this might not be set as default. Set your FPS value to fractional FPS value. This will allow you to go over 120 FPS, because as you can see, if you are in integer FPS value setting, you cannot go more than 120 FPS. As you can see, I'm pressing the up arrow and it doesn't let me. And if I type 150, for example, I cannot type the 0. So let's go over to fractional FPS value and keep it at this. Also, one thing I totally forgot to mention, but it's really important, is that you always run OBS as an administrator. So for example, if you want to record something, then you should type OBS and press this button. Basically, running OBS as an administrator will make you have much less skipped, missed, and dropped frames. No, I think dropped frames will be the same, but having OBS open as an administrator will give more priority to OBS. And basically right here, in general, you should set this to high priority, because this means that if something in your game becomes very graphically intensive to render, then the game will not use more GPU power and the OBS will have more GPU power. So the game for you might overall still be a little bit laggy, but OBS recording will be overall smooth. Okay, so right here, I advise you not to change any of those two settings. Leave this as it is, but right here at color space and color range, we need to change something. Basically, most of the Windows computers that run today run in sRGB color space. So by setting this to some other color space will require OBS to convert the colors from one color space to other color space, essentially making it harder for you to render out a single frame, if that makes sense. And the color range, you have to set this to full because everything on your computer is from 0 to 255 for red, green, and blue color values. And this is basically a full color range. So setting this to full will require your OBS to do less work because it will not have to convert different color ranges. Alright, right here, you should select automatically remux to MP4. This will be really important later down in the video. Okay, now let's go to output. output. Go over to recording. We're not gonna talk about streaming because this is not what this video is about. Alright, several different important things. Recording format, set this to MKV. This is really important. I know a lot of people want to record straight to MP4, but the risk that comes with recording in MP4 is that if your recording software crashes or the power goes out, you will lose all of your recording. So you should have recording format at MKV because you will not lose all of your recording if the power goes out. One thing I forgot to mention is that when we select that automatically remux to MP4, it will automatically convert the MKV files to MP4. So don't worry about going to some online converter to convert your video format. Back to the video. Now right here at audio track, I'm gonna admit that I did one mistake in my last video. I told you to use several different tracks, one for gameplay audio and one for microphone audio and for whatever other things you want to use as well. But basically, it has come to my attention that there's actually a bug that is not being fixed right now for some reason in OBS that makes it so when you are recording in high FPS and also you have several different audio tracks in the same file, your recording file might not be created. And I actually noticed this myself, but I thought that my system was very bad because at the time I had a 10-year-old CPU. But yeah, I suggest keeping the audio track to 1 and mapping all your desktop audio and all your microphone audio to one track if you're planning on recording on more than 60 FPS. Okay, now another important thing, encoder. I advise you to set this to NVIDIA NVENC H.264 new encoder. If you see several NVENC encoder options, set this one to new. And if you do not see this option, you can choose to use X.264, which is basically using your CPU to encode videos. But I'm going to say right now, you have to have a GPU to record smooth gameplay, because even the top tier CPUs of today would really struggle to deliver you high FPS in Minecraft and also record in high FPS. So unless you're not seeing this and you have an AMD graphics card, then you can search up on YouTube on how to record in OBS with a Radeon graphics card. Anyways, with that out of the way, right here at rescale output, do not check this box, and now we move to rate control settings. Now right here, you can choose several different ways of controlling the bitrate of your video. Now essentially what bitrate means is the quality of your video. So the higher your bitrate is, the higher quality is your video. But be careful, because higher bitrates will eat up your disk space really fast. So yeah, click on rate control, and now there are several options. With CQP, you can go from CQ level 1 to 30. And basically what this means is the higher the CQ level, the lower the quality. Yes, I know that's counterintuitive, but basically if you have a CQ level of 1, then you will have near lossless quality with an enormous file size. Basically, I suggest you going from 14 to 25 CQ level, because basically everything below 14 looks indistinguishable from lossless. So if you want to have a lossless quality video, you should set the CQ level to 14, and this will not eat up your storage as fast as lossless does. Now right here where keyframe interval is, leave this at 0. Preset, I suggest using this as low as possible depending on what your CQ level is. So if you have a really high CQ level, that means low quality, then you should have a high quality preset. But if you have a low CQ level, like below 19, you should have this towards the bottom. I suggest never using max quality and never using low latency performance. These are both different ends of the extreme, and you should be somewhere in the middle. I chose low latency quality. Now profile. With this you will have to experiment a little bit, because not every editing software supports baseline profile, but I think most of them do. Basically, baseline profile is easier to encode, so I suggest using this at baseline. Anyways, these options will use up your GPU really fast, and you shouldn't be using them. GPU means which GPU are you using, but that's only for people who have more than one graphics card. And if you're one of those people, then you shouldn't probably even be watching this video. You can just set up your numerator value to be 1000 FPS without changing anything and having the default settings. Okay, but anyways, here at max B frames, it is sometimes a little bit strange, but in general, you should have this as low as possible useful because B frames require a lot of GPU power, will make your recordings be easier to record. Anyways, one last thing is the replay buffer. Right here, click enable replay buffer. This is actually like Nvidia's shadow play or like Medal, but basically you can run OBS with all your recording settings and press this start replay buffer button and it will start recording the last whatever seconds you set here. So you will see a button right here that when you click on it, it will save the last or 20 seconds as I have set it right now. And right here you can actually limit the amount of RAM OBS can use with this feature because this will eat up your RAM fast. So keep that in mind when setting up replay buffer. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you in the next one.